Welcome back to Horror Recaps. In a few seconds, you're going to listen to a frightening tale narrated by me. Fear awaits you. Watch out and take care. This movie started at Rosie's bar. A bartender called Will fascinates Alicia and her boyfriend, Jeffrey, with his card flip skills. Just as he talks with them, he suddenly sees a cockroach and feels a bit of fright, but playfully slings it at Jeffrey and Alicia. A few minutes later, Jeffrey stands up to use the bathroom, and as he returns, he mistakenly collides with some guy called Eric who is just arriving at the bar. Eric, obviously an aggressive guy, gets angry at Jeffrey and attempts to beat him up, but Will would calm him down. A moment later, a group of college students would come to the bar to order drinks, to which Will reluctantly serves them because they are underage. Eric orders for more drinks, and as Will goes to serve him, he sees another cockroach. Another moment of fright. Some of Eric's friends then come around and they all go to play pool. Eric has been constituting some nuisance anyway. As they play, a fight later breaks out between Eric and one of the guys. They fight each other for some time before the other guy picks up a broken bottle and shoves it in Eric's cheek, seriously wounding him. Meanwhile, one of the college students has been recording the whole fight. As the fight gets even more terrible, Will jumps in to separate them before they all later leave the bar. As Will cleans up the mess, he sees a phone which most likely is one of the kids and keeps it. Will gets home and starts to receive some messages from a guy named Garrett on the found phone. He manages to unlock the phone and replies that he is the bartender and the phone was left at the bar. He sees another cockroach and gets even more frightened. He later receives a message on the phone, asking for his help, but he casually ignores it, thinking the person is just playing around, and goes to sleep. The next morning, his girlfriend, Carrie, would ask him about the phone, suspecting it belongs to another lady. She checks the phone and gets shocked to see an awful image of some teeth with spilled blood. It seems as though they belong to Garrett. Will still thinks Garrett could be trying to mess with him, but later says he'd give it to the cops. He later drops Carrie off with her professor and goes to Rosie's. Getting there, he comes out of his car and sees that someone in a black Charger is spying on him. He didn't pay too much attention to this. Will later goes to Eric's house to check on him and finds out that his wound has gotten worse. He tries to call an ambulance, but Eric refuses. Meanwhile, the Charger from Rosie's is still following him. Will later tries to leave, but Eric tells him not to. He's been having a nightmare. Later, Will goes home and suspects a movement in his house but doesn't see anyone. He sits to play a video game and then receives another message on the phone from some guy called Jason. Jason asks him about Eric and later tells him to check the pictures on the phone. Will then goes through the phone's gallery and finds some scary images. He finds scary footage of a skull with cockroaches gathering around it with some people talking in the background, happy that what they are practicing from some book is working. A hand suddenly comes out from a hole in the skull. Will is frightened. Carrie returns home and questions him about the phone. Carrie would later check the phone to see the same thing Will saw, and now in the background of the picture, she notices there's a book titled Translation of Wounds. Apparently, that was the book the people from the video were talking about. She then tells him to call the number he's been chatting with. He calls and something horrific happens. He begins to hear a strange noise that attracts him to the phone, making it difficult for him to put it down, sort of like a force field. Carrie tries to call the cops, but he runs towards her to stop her, and sees a flash of an image of Carrie's head similar to the horrible pictures he saw on the phone. He then decides to take it to Dwayne, a cop friend. On his way to see Dwayne, he receives another message, but now it's from Jason, thanking him for calling and telling him he has been chosen. Jason sends another message that he needs the phone back and he is right behind him. Will checks the side mirror and sees the Charger he saw at Rosie's. It appears that it's been Jason spying on him all along. Immediately, the phone changes to a scary form and several cockroaches begin to move up his hand. Out of fear, he throws the phone out of the car as he tries stopping the cockroaches. He parks the car and pulls off his shirt, falling to the ground. He later finds out there were no cockroaches, but before he could stand up to recover the phone, it was already taken. He gets to Dwayne to tell him about the events, but he isn't able to give enough details for the cops to work with. He believes the college students were responsible. That night, Will would go to the bar as usual and Alicia comes to spend time. Will seems to have a lot on his mind due to his recent horrible experiences. They both spend the night together but would later have some disagreements due to Will giving her a good old lip massage and trying to sleep with her. Will later receives a strange picture from Carrie and rushes home. He gets home and sees Carrie checking some odd tunnel on her laptop. She seems to be meddling with the book. Will asks about the picture she sent, but she says she can't remember sending any picture to him. He would later have a nightmare that night of a guy sitting in the dining room who tells him about a ritual they did and how that something possessed them, and has now found Will as the perfect vessel. Will wakes up the next morning, and his armpit is seriously itching him. He goes to the mirror to check what is there, and in a moment, he sees a large wound in his armpit with a cockroach in it, that in reality isn't there. He's been having some horrible psychological experiences. After taking his bath, he goes to meet Carrie and she tells him she searched for the name Garrett to see if there's any missing report but couldn't find any match. Will later goes to search about Garrett too and finds something about Gnosticism, the rituals involved, and the translation of Wound's book. Later at Rosie's bar, Will is now getting more aggressive than usual. He would later have a clash with Jeffrey. He is seeing cockroaches more often and has some strange pictures in his head. After some time, he receives a message from Carrie telling him she thinks someone is in her home. He rushes home and sees Carrie staring again at a tunnel on her laptop. He calls her but she doesn't answer as she seems to have lost consciousness and is looking possessed. Will walks around to see who is in their home but doesn't find anyone. Later, he goes to Carrie and closes the laptop. Carrie falls into his hands and he then carries her to the room and later takes her to the bathroom. Putting her in the bathtub, she drowns in it and the water turns black. After a while, she gasps out for breath and regains her consciousness. Will asks her about the picture she sent but Carrie finds it difficult to remember, and the human figure in the picture he received has already disappeared. The next day, Will would break up with Carrie and later leave for Eric's apartment to stay there, but Eric refuses. Eric is obviously scared of something. Will later asks about the present he was told Eric has for him. He discovers the present is the mysterious phone. Eric had been threatened by the college students to give a present to Will. He then receives a message from Jason asking him if he's found the present. The present is Eric. Will is now completely different from who he used to be as he seems already possessed by another. Will calls Garrett with the mysterious phone and the strange noise starts. Eric groans in pain hearing this, and soon, several cockroaches begin to gather in the room. Will would later suck out Eric's soul through the wound on his cheek. Will is now more dangerous than ever. Make sure to like and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.